Hello and welcome to Startup Street. I'm Shruti Mishra and with me is Ritu Singh. These are the top headlines from the startup space. US-based private equity firm STG acquires Manav Garg-founded SaaS company Eka Software, STG, to merge Eka with its existing portfolio company Core Group, which offers commodity trading risk management software for metals industry.
Filter Capital marks the final close of its first fund with a total corpus of 800 crore rupees. The tech-focused growth investment firm will use this to lead or co-lead Series B and C rounds in Indian startups.
IIT Madras incubated deep tech startup Planus Technologies raises 43 crore rupees in a funding round led by investor Ashish Kacholia with participation from Samarthya Advisors, Golden Birch Investments, Cognify Angel Fund, Krishna Defence and Impact India Investment.
Byju's owned Akash Educational Services appoints Deepak Mehrotra as the new managing director and CEO. The appointment comes 7 months after former CEO, CFO and promoter Akash Chaudhary called it quits following changes in shareholding structure.
Microsoft plans for a new artificial intelligence hub in London focused on product development and research. The unit will be led by Mustafa Suleiman, the London-born co-founder of Google DeepMind and Inflection AI, who was hired by Microsoft last month.
And the standoff between Elon Musk and Brazil escalates. The billionaire owner of the social media platform X says he will reactivate accounts that a judge had ordered to be blocked as it is unconstitutional. Following the order on Saturday, Musk had also claimed it could lead to a total loss of revenue and shutdown of the company's offices in Brazil. All right, so those are the headlines that we're tracking for you today from the startup world. Now, Ather Energy recently launched its new family scooter, RIZTA, which will be priced at around 1 lakh rupees. Its CEO Tarun Mehta told my colleague Parikshit Luthra that they cannot afford to get aggressive with pricing because of the government's cut in subsidy for electric vehicles. He also said that RIZTA will play a major role for the company's growth going ahead.
See, 450 was the foundation for everything that we did at Ather because that's a product on which we perfected the tech, perfected the operations and got our quality right. But as a product, 450 is a performance scooter. Performance scooters are significantly smaller in addressable market. So for years, we'd been thinking of launching a family scooter because in India, especially up north and west, our experience says for people, scooter is about family. Like you buy a scooter because you're thinking of a family use case. So we wanted to build one. We had this in mind long time. When 450 got to a great place with Apex, we kind of figured this is a fantastic time to launch our first family scooter.
How big is the market size? You must have done a lot of surveys. How much do you expect this scooter to incrementally contribute to your sales?
So it depends on how you define it, but we look at performance scooters and we feel family scooters are somewhere in the range of about 80 to 85% of the scooter market of India. So it's really the vast majority of the scooter market. We feel with this, well, obviously we are not the pioneers in family scooter. We are coming late to the party. But I think with the kind of technology we're bringing in, you saw all the features that we're launching today, the kind of size it has, the kind of space it has, the kind of software it has. We feel this can be quite a successful product there. I personally feel this can be larger than the 450 business in the coming year.
Give us a sense of how much capacity would you be allocating for the 450 scooters, the Apex scooter, and now for the family scooter. How many more units are you going to be producing per month now as a result of the family scooter?
No, that'll be demand dictated. One thing that we built very strongly as a muscle over the last several years is operational capability. We feel that we can respond to demand at a very short notice. We anyways have this entire pre-order concept. So I think over the next 2 months, even before we begin deliveries, we'll get a very strong understanding of what kind of demand we should anticipate, we are looking at. To now increase capacity is probably a reasonably shorter process for Ather. So even on the line, for example, we've got a fair bit of fungibility. So running RIZTA and running 450 are not like heavens and poles, like they're not poles apart. We can do very quick changes. Overall, I feel we will have enough capacity for this calendar year. Next year is too far out to predict.
How difficult was it to keep the pricing within 1,10,000 for the entry-level variant and 1,25,000 and 1,45,000 for the top variants?
Pretty challenging, especially with subsidies coming down just a few days ago. We had a lot of extensive debates on how to land the pricing, but I think the feedback was pretty clear, and we were pretty clear that with RIZTA, we want to expand into a larger addressable market. Prices have to be more competitive than the 450. Yeah, I think a lot of credit goes to our design and ops teams, because the market prices, we don't drive them. Consumers tell us. So we've got to work our way backwards, and 450 is on its own place because it has its own following, and it's a more premium product. I think with this we had to start from a price target first, so it was hard. But I think teams have pulled off some real miracle.
But the path to profitability for the EV sector, including companies like yours, has that gotten longer with the subsidies getting tapered down? With this interim EV scheme that we're seeing for 4 months, the subsidies have again come down from 22,000 to 10,000 rupees.
Right.
And the idea now is to keep subsidies maximum for 2-3 more years.
Yeah. So I think I think a little differently about it now. I think subsidies play a very crucial role in driving near-term demand and in reducing losses for companies trying to fulfill that demand. But I think subsidies play no role in actual profitability, because if you are profitable with subsidies underlining it, especially direct consumer subsidies, then I think it's a false profitability. So at Ather, we don't model profitability timelines wherein there is still a subsidy. So you're profitable only if you're making enough margin that even if there is no subsidy, you're sort of still viable. Subsidies can't dictate profitability timelines. You've got to be profitable without subsidies. What the reduction of subsidies has done is it's increased the losses for EV companies in that journey, because the end state is all the same. Even without subsidies, you make enough money to be profitable. Now, do you get there with, like, let's say 1,000 crores of loss, or 2,000 crores of loss, or 3,000 crores of loss? I think that's a moving scene with every subsequent subsidy cut. And the downward pressure that it creates is every time there's a subsidy cut, you sign up for more losses on your journey. And when you have more losses, to balance it better, you can't get very aggressive with pricing. I think that's what keeps happening.
Does this reduction in subsidy, which has come into effect from the 1st of April, does this put pressure to increase prices? Would you be increasing prices for some of your models?
Yeah, we did. We have to. I think...
You've already done that?
Yeah, we've announced, right? Yeah, we've announced. We were able to absorb a lot of the subsidy pullback last year, but there's not enough margin left to absorb more now. So we still did. I think we absorbed roughly half of it, but we passed on roughly, like on blended basis, I think we passed on half of the subsidy cut to the consumer. So prices have gone up by 5,000 rupees.
Okay. Now, going forward, do you expect the EV sales to contract?
I think April would likely be a contraction, purely because March saw, in my opinion, a little bit of an artificial jump up because there was demand being pulled forward. That aside, I don't think the market should contract. That'll be a bit surprising if that happens. I don't think people will increase prices by so much that the market actually starts dropping.
By when would you be ready for a zero subsidy scenario?
I'm a firm believer the market still needs subsidy for at least a couple of more years. I think every time we reduce subsidy, we sort of delay growth. We've already had 3-4 quarters of practically no growth for the industry, or very limited growth. I think we need a little bit of stability at these price levels, at these subsidy levels, for enough growth to come in, enough volume to build up. So I believe that I'm of the opinion that the subsidy should stay for at least a couple more years.
Give us your total growth figures for FY24. How much are you looking to grow in FY25?
For FY25, I think RIZTA's got to drive most of it. So yeah, you're right to your first question. Banking a lot on RIZTA this year.
And from a cleaner planet to healthy living, April 7th is celebrated as World Health Day. And here are some stats. 1 in every 7 Indians suffers from mental health problems, often undiagnosed. Add problems like stress plus poor lifestyle habits, and the number balloons even higher. Most patients fear psychiatric drugs and treatments due to their known side effects and the associated social stigma. To tackle this problem head-on, health tech startup Mave Health is building a fully non-invasive self-managed wearable. Mave Health has also raised 6 crore rupees in its pre-seed funding round led by All In Capital and Utsav Somani's iSeed Fund, with participation from other marquee investors including Bharat Founders Fund, Dipinder Goyal of Zomato, Kunal Shah of Cred, Mohit Kumar and Vatsal Singhal of Ultra Human, and other angel investors. To talk to us about the journey ahead, joining me now is Dhaval Jain, the co-founder and CEO of Mave Health. Dhaval, welcome to Startup Street. First, let's talk about your non-invasive brain stimulation wearable ARC. How does it treat depression at home and without any side effects? Also, it's currently in beta phase. What kind of results are you seeing and expecting to see?
Correct. So we are actually seeing early traction, and the technology of brain stimulation that we're using is actually like more than 2 decades old, right? The goal always has been to bring technologies outside labs and put them to real world use. The current efficacy or effectiveness of the technology is about 88% people see an improvement within the first 10 weeks.
Okay.
And about 72% people reach remission, right? Which is great in mental health because no treatment so far has been able to show that. To cater to the market right now, we actually launch a 12-week program where instead of just focusing on the wearable ARC, we actually combine it with judgment-free therapy, fitness and nutrition coaching, etc. Because depression is a very complex problem and it requires a very holistic, comprehensive solution. So that's what we do. To talk more about the technology, so brain stimulation is actually a way to basically stimulate certain parts of your brain that are affected in mental health disorders. Now, to put it very, very simply, any mental health disorder happens because of either hyperactivity or hypoactivity of some part of the brain. With brain stimulation, you have the capability to increase or decrease the activity of very few selected regions of the brain, depending on the kind of mental health problem you're trying to treat.
Okay.
Right? The reason it has no side effects is because, unlike drugs, it does not travel through your entire body. It targets the region very locally.
Okay. Dhaval, can you tell us, is ARC for all age groups and how simple is it to use?
Absolutely. So ARC is for all age groups. You just have to put it on like a headset. You'll find all of these details on our website. So we still recommend people over the age of 18 to enroll. We don't recommend people below the age of 18 to enroll. In fact, when we were doing our closed trials with a couple of hospitals and clinics, the average age was about 38 in those trials. We even saw a farmer who was, aged 77 years old use the product.
Okay. I believe the fresh funds that you've raised, Dhaval, will support Mave Health in launching ARC. So tell us, when will it hit the market and how much will it cost?
Correct. So we are actually not selling ARC right now. We are giving access to ARC as a part of the 12-week program.
Okay.
The program is launching on 1st of May. The enrollments for the program are already over. We have seen over 800 registrations in the last 48 hours.
Okay. So truly the future of personal healthcare seems to be via simple wearables. But Dhaval, what is the kind of demand you're currently seeing for ARC? What kind of partnerships have you built so far? I understand this is a 12-week program that you're starting with, but then who will be able to buy the product and from where eventually?
Correct. So right now the product and the program are both available on the website. That's where people can enroll into the program. We are also building very strong partnerships with multiple hospitals, clinics, psychiatrists, psychologists. In fact, as a part of Mave Health, we run the largest community of psychologists in India, which is about over 1,500 professionals, all of them who are verified. So we are also parallelly training psychologists to make ARC a part of their therapy, because while psychology or therapy focuses on a very psychology-driven approach, added bio-intervention does speed up the outcome for the patient.
Okay. Dhaval, how do you plan to sustain yourself? What will be the revenue model going forward? And how much more money do you need to raise before you go to the market?
Correct. So like I said, we're already going to the market. We're launching on 1st of May. I think the funds that we have are sufficient for us to scale right now. Yeah.
All right. And any revenue model that you've currently devised?
Correct. So right now we basically sell the program, not just the device as a standalone. And access to the product is given for the duration of the program. In December, we are launching the second version of ARC, where people will be able to buy the standalone product and sort of use it at home for life.
And how much will it cost? Can you give us a range?
Correct. So we're still in a pricing discovery phase, but it should cost anywhere between 25 to 30,000 rupees. Of course, it will be available on rented basis for a much lesser price.
All right. Dhaval, what are the other solutions or offerings in the pipeline? What other new ways of treating depression with technology are you working on?
Correct. So we're basically focusing on brain-based therapies as of now. We think that the brain is the cornerstone of both physical and mental health. And I think approaching things from a very brain point of view makes a lot of sense. Neuroscience has finally caught up to the problems that we're trying to tackle. And I think taking that approach does put us ahead, over every other intervention that's available, either for physical health or mental health problems. So we are diversifying the problems we are trying to treat, but our approach stays the same, which is a brain-based therapy.
Okay. Dhaval, talk to us about some of the new trends you're seeing towards mental health. Are people more aware now? Is there less social stigma? Also, has it become easier for mental health startups to raise funds now?
Absolutely. So I'll talk about the trends. I think the problem is reaching epidemic levels right now. The average age of first episode of depression, which is when a person first got into depression, has reduced from 55 years to 25 years, thanks to our sedentary lifestyle, modern lifestyle. But that is one trend where we are seeing a lot of people early on in their life tackling crippling amount of mental health disorders, right? Anxiety, depression. But yes, at the same time, the awareness regarding mental health disorders is growing very rapidly. People are more openly talking about their struggle on social media, etc. In terms of raising funds, I think if you're building a good solution, raising funds for mental health is never a problem. It's just that we need to look outside the box and find approaches that have not been taken before.
All right, Dhaval, on that note, I'll have to wrap up our conversation. But many thanks for joining us on Startup Street and wish you the very best for your 12-week program that starts on May 1st. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, we have to take a short break, but we are going to continue our conversation about India's health. And we have GOQII's India Fit Report 2024, the findings of that with its CEO on the other side of this break. So stay tuned for that. Now, nearly half of India's population falls into the category of borderline or unhealthy as per GOQII India's Fit Report for 2024. The study is based on data from its user base of 6 million people across India. It underscores that a significant gender divide in health outcomes still exists, finding that 59% of women were categorized as unhealthy compared to 40% of men in the category. High blood pressure is also found to be a common ailment, followed by the likes of high cholesterol and diabetes. Vishal Gondal, the CEO and co-founder of GOQII, is with us to highlight some of the key findings from this report coming in now. Vishal, thanks very much for your time here on CNBC TV18. Just to summarize for our viewers, what would you say is the biggest change that you've seen in health outcomes in 2024 compared to what your reports found in the earlier years? Because, how healthy really is the average Indian today?
See, so far, most of the health data and reports were coming either from hospitals or from, let me use the word, sick care side. GOQII released the first report in 2017. So this is almost our 7th or 8th year. And we've been looking at longitudinal data of how Indians are changing their lifestyle, how activity levels are changing. And clearly, we see that certain pockets and certain cities with good infrastructure, less pollution, tend to be more healthier. I mean, we saw cities like Surat and Indore performing really well because of the underlying infrastructure and the pollution, etc., in the city itself. So clearly, it is, if you look at the city level information, we are able to see disparities between certain cities where health is very good comparatively because of the city itself. The second thing we are seeing is there is definitely high level of awareness, but still there is a challenge in terms of people able to actually adopt healthy lifestyle. And that's partly because India is currently filled with junk food. Every app, whether it is Swiggy or Zomato, is dishing out, biryanis and burgers. And similarly, there are apps which are doing quick deliveries at home. So you are even not motivated to walk. So there is a lot of things in the environment which is contributing to the poor health.
Well, I find myself guilty of a lot of things you just highlighted, Vishal, but since you talked about the geography, let me quickly get a word in on that. Patna, Kolkata, Lucknow, Bhopal, most unhealthy cities as per your report. Surat, Jaipur, Chandigarh, relatively better. What we don't hear here is the metros. Any particular reason, of a trend that you're seeing or not seeing in metros versus the tier 2, tier 3 cities, or any changes that you've seen over the years for the likes of Bombay, Delhi, etc.?
See, metros, the awareness is very high. There is you can see Mumbai has a marathon literally every week happening of some kind. But the problem with metro cities is the construction, the pollution, and overall, you just can't walk in a city. Like, Bangalore is always having such high level of traffic jam. So stress levels actually are higher in the metro cities. Another thing which is very, very alarming is the amount of women who are having healthcare issues. And we know that women as a biology itself have a lot of women's health related issues, whether it is PCOS or fertility or women's health kind of issues. So women actually are bearing the brunt of the whole health challenges. And we also see that women always tend to underestimate their health, but they always want to care for their family or other people while they don't take care of their own health. So I think that was one other very interesting thing, that women consider themselves as super women, which they are, but they should also be equally worried about their health.
Well, everyone should be worried about their health, but just to take this gender divide in health outcome debate forward, what you've explained some of the reasons why this may be the case, but what would you say are the challenges that are unique to women when it comes to their health issues?
I think with women, clearly, what we see is that, there is thyroid, for example, is very prevalent in women, and thyroid is also connected to weight and so on. And that's also connected to the menstrual cycle and so on. So I think there is a much more compounding of these health conditions in women, which is what is happening and which is what we are seeing. If you really see whether it is blood pressure, so a lot of these are connected with each other, and that is what really is coming out. The other thing which we are also seeing is that if you see the data, whether it is diabetes, thyroid, high cholesterol, and blood pressure, men are more prone on the cholesterol side, but women have the thyroid issues are almost entirely dominated by women.
All right, let's step away from the gender and enter the age category now, because globally, of course, we've been hearing lifestyle diseases, hypertension, stress, cholesterol, etc. These are seen as big reasons for health deterioration, but increasingly also not just affecting the senior citizens or the people who are slightly older in age, but also the younger people. What are some of the outcomes here that you've seen in India?
So clearly, we are seeing an early onset of diabetes. For example, if you see clearly a 3-4% jump in people early detection of diabetes. So there is childhood obesity, which is connected with also diabetes. So that's clearly coming out in the data. The other thing which we are seeing is that the minute you are crossing 50s, suddenly there is a huge spike in all the related diseases. So today, 50 or 45. I would say 45 to 50 is that band where the minute you're crossing that, you are completely getting inundated with all kinds of lifestyle issues. And finally, what we are also seeing is that when it comes to health, there was a recent report which talked about cancer on the rise in India. In fact, there will be a very, very high propensity of cancer-related cases. And that's completely coming out here, right? Because GOQII is giving you the lifestyle data.
Sure.
This is what is translating to things
Yeah.
like cancer and other things. So if you really see the trend, a lot of this is
Vishal?
contributing to that part.
Okay, very briefly, since we're running out of time, the report also says that young adults between the age group of 20 to 29 are the most stressed age group. We've been talking about mental health issues here on the show earlier today as well. Despite the fact that there are more tools and forums available for help today than before, what is the trend that you're seeing? Is there an improvement, or is it only getting worse with the advent of social media and so on?
Absolutely right. I mean, this age group and the teenagers are spending an insane amount of time on social media apps. They are addicted to what I call digital dopamine. And this digital dopamine and the constant need to get recognized and the constant need to get engaged and stimulated is certainly creating issues like ADHD, depression of all grades. So clearly there is a big challenge, and OTT platforms, we know that, for example, sleep is very important. It's literally the foundation of good health, and we are seeing sleep getting deprived. And especially in the younger people, the sleep is even more challenging because most of them are binging on some of the other OTT shows. So I think the content consumption environment is what is causing a lot of these things.
Okay, Vishal, unfortunately, we've run out of time. Very interesting findings there. Thanks very much for sharing them here on CNBC-TV18. Thanks, Vishal.
Thank you.
Well, with that, it's a wrap from Ritu and me, Shruti, on this edition of Startup Street. Stay tuned for more updates.